All right, we are live.
Yes.
Welcome, everybody. Come on in. Come on into the classroom. So, we are live on like 7 different platforms right now. This is going to be an awesome episode. You know, personally, I've looked up to this man for a long time as I've grown up in the industry. Instructor Zero has been doing this stuff since I was a little, since I was getting out of the Marine Corps. I finally saw this guy and I was like, oh my goodness, like I was like, oh my gosh, like someone can shoot that fast. And of course, that's what draws us in. We're like, wow. But then as I've watched and studied him a little bit more, and we've gotten to hang out at some of the shot shows, I start, it's actually very refreshing to see that this man is the real deal. It is the real deal. And so it's an honor.
I want to greet everybody. Hi. And for me, it's a big pleasure and an honor to be here with you. You're an awesome person. After I'm going to talk a little bit about you, which was my impression. That's very important, It's, it's behind the job, behind the profession, behind what we do. Remember, the most important value is the man, is the human capital that is behind everything. I don't care normally, the job rank, the social position. I don't care if it's a rich, poor, the color, the religion, the qualification, if it's a special force or law enforcement or a simple guy. What makes the difference is the man, is the person, is the human being is behind everything. That is the most important thing. That is priceless, understand? And you are a great man. I can tell you since the first time I met you, that's not I say this because we are here. And when we start to meet each other better, you can understand that I'm not the kind of person that can give you in your shoulder, and slap your shoulder to say nothing good if I don't think for real that is good. The same process with my students. So for me, it's a big pleasure to be here. Thank you for this opportunity. And I'm not sure if I'm a big deal, the real deal. Basically, I'm a professional student here, but we can see what we figure out in the next hour. Then,
yeah, man. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, and that's spoken like a real true warrior, man. Because the guys that are humble, that are really, and a lot of guys talk about being an eternal student, but the guys that really are, those are the good guys, man. And I second what you said, man. I've now fortunately been able to meet a lot of guys, man. And so it's an honor when I see someone who's got that humility and, all that stuff. So it's an honor, brother. We are about to go into the Protector Symposium 5.0. We've got an amazing lineup. We're going to get into Instructor Zero's background a little bit. We're going to do some tactical reviews and look at some real world action and kind of see what his take is on it and kind of chop those things up. But first, you guys, I want to play the video we have for this upcoming Protector Symposium. Check it out.
We got an exotic treat for you guys from overseas. I'm really excited about this one. None other than Instructor Zero from over the pond. He's coming out here with us. He's going to be with us in the United States. And he's going to be running a course on fighting around vehicles, in and around vehicles. And this is not just any course on fighting in and around vehicles, besides the fact that it's going to be taught to you by the Instructor Zero, is the reality that he has given this course to some of the world's most elite fighting forces. This is a course that don't know if you're going to be able to get anywhere else for a very long time or really ever, that he's doing something special for us. Where do 80% force encounters happen? Where do these emergencies happen? Where are people generally attacked? They're generally attacked in transitional spaces. If you guys watch my tactical protection reviews, you guys already know this. And so you've got to learn how to fight in and around vehicles. And who better to teach you than the infamous Instructor Zero. He's been in this game. He's a legend in this game, and it'll be an honor to have him over here in the U.S. Boom.
Boom. You know.
You make it cooler than what I am.
I do my best. You know, honestly, man, I love celebrating you guys, man. Like, I'm an eternal student as well, and so, you know, when you guys say, "Hey, I will work with you, and my brand and your brand can run together for an operation," it means a whole lot. And then I can bring, you know, crystallize and bring some of what you guys have to the tribe. I'm stoked, you know, and secretly, I just want to train with you guys. So I create all this just to do it.
Yeah, but I think it's the same for even for us. I mean,
Wow.
As always, you know, when if you work, knowledge is something that never goes in one way. You always learn something. You always learn from the students. You always learn from the environment, from other instructors, from your colleagues. There is always a huge space to learn something new. And the problem is that, you know, many of our colleagues, they think that they don't need this anymore, that they arrive. That I hope I will never arrive at that point. The day that I stop to be a student should be the day that I need to stop to be a trainer. Because, you know, again, doesn't matter what I've done in my past. I have anyway, I need to refresh my knowledge. I need to adapt my knowledge in the nowadays, because the world is changed and changed very fast. It's always, you know, and this is on the technical side, is something that we can cover later during this live, regarding, for example, the police academy, law enforcement academy schools in different countries, mindset we have, the problem we can find in terms. So whatever you did 20 years ago, 15 years ago, now it's time to refresh, because the world is not anymore like 15 years ago. You have new needs, you have new problems, you need to face new critical aspect that's before you probably be there you didn't, because different kind of conditions, right? And this is something that you can feel every day just watching a TV show or the news on the channel. It's every day you can see facts that happen around the world that say, "Oh, wow!" And there is where we need to work, right? We need to adapt. We need to refresh, update our knowledge every day.
Yeah.
The season of learning never stops.
100%. No, this is wisdom, y'all. I hope you guys are listening. I'm taking notes. Information, knowledge always goes two ways. Like, write that down, you know, and always be looking for it. That's wisdom. That is awesome. So at this upcoming Protector Symposium, we're going to talk about fighting around vehicles. But before we get into all that stuff, I always like to ask my opening question. Who are you at your core? Like, who's the man behind the work, you know?
I don't have a really interesting story like, you know, that some other big names. I mean, and first of all, I have a name and surname like everybody. My name is Jacobicelli, my name and surname. So I have a name and surname like everybody else. But because many years ago when we started social media, I did nothing. I didn't know nothing about internet and social media. My job was so far from social media. So, and when I started, and I'm very happy that at the conference will be Paolo, GM from Funker, because everything started in terms of social media. Everything started with him more than 10 years ago in terms of social media. And at that time, because I didn't know nothing about social media, I said, I'm not sure to exhibit my real name, my surname for the kind of job I was doing and I continue to do. And I said, but I don't want to lose the chance to the original project about the social media stuff was to point the light to people that they normally do their job with huge sacrifice in the shade, like special forces, special units all around the world, not only in the Western world that, the coolest guy from the special force that everybody knows, the most common names of special forces. There are tons and tons of small units or special units from law enforcement, from military, all around the world that they fight every day like hell, and they do it with no gears, with no equipment, with few money, few bucks for months, and they do like lions. And for this kind of men and women that fight every day, that was my goal, to show that there is another part of the job that, probably no one of them have the chance to go on social media or get the visibility or the credits, that not because they need to have, but because why, if we can, to provide showing and explaining a little bit what we can in the base of the clearance and the whole the stuff. And this was the original plan. Plus, the another thing that was part of the starting project was to show people, to spread a kind of message in terms of a technical message, in terms of mindsets, in terms of to show my way to do things. Maybe are wrong, correct. I don't know. I mean, I know, but it's not something that you need to. Everyone has to filter information by his experience, by his needs, right? So what can work for someone maybe doesn't work for someone else. It's depend about always about who you are, where you are, what you have to do. So who is Instructor Zero? Instructor Zero name make me laugh, because it's Instructor Zero. I work with my business guy. It's I'm victim of this the same name, but I can tell you that after years and after I saw all the problem we got, even working with like a nickname on social media, we had a lot of tries and frauds. They cloned my profile, my real name, my surname. We had courts. We had tons of problem regarding because the exposure we had in these years. So at the end of the game, I can tell you that we did the proper thing using a stupid name like Instructor Zero. That's it's hilarious. Okay, it's not serious. But this is such a media. But you don't have to judge a book by the cover. So if you stop just on the name, it's good for me. It's good. I mean, it's your fault, not mine.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have a name as a name like everybody. But
Wow.
so my story is a very simple story. I was born in Italy, but I just born in Italy. Then because my mother came in Italy just for the born, and then she went back to Africa because my family was in Africa at that time, and we are talking about the end of the 70s. So when Africa was quite hot, and I can I can tell you that was quite hot because we were in Rhodesia at that time, and we were there in 78, 79 when all the trouble started and the revolution there. And then we moved for Ghana. Probably my father was not really a black belt in geopolitics because we moved it for Ghana the same years. We had the first coup from Rawlings, that was in 1979, the second coup in
Wow.
1981. So it was a quite hot. So I spent
Chaos.
yeah, the first thing about that, I remember I was like 5 years old, more or less 5, 6 years old. I remember one night my father break in my room, took me from the bed, pushed me under the bed, and few seconds later, I remember a big noise, that's like a big explosion, and all the glasses of the windows it crashes. That was the first time I started to deal with something like that. And then I remember, for example, another thing that I was again a kid, and I was in Ghana, and I saw the first time I was for was involuntary because At that time, there was the highway between Accra to Tema. They used to. There was a camp where they did execution there. Yeah, it's like that penalty. So was the first time that I saw something like that. And again, during the second coup, they shot the car for mistake by a police officer there. We received 2 rounds on the car, but nothing happened for luck. No one was injured. It was a simple mistake. They didn't want to do it. But this is how I grew up. I grown up. So the first third of my life I spent in Africa, growing up without television. I mean, we didn't have a lot of television. We used to play outside. I used to, the country is, the land is amazing.
Yeah.
We live in many countries, from the south to the Guinea Gulf. So I traveled a lot in that part. Then I came back in Italy to complete my study, and I joined my military service. I served my country in an urban brigade. That was my dream, and so I started to work and to follow my dream. And exactly when I was living my dream, at the top, because I was ready. My idea was to make a military career inside the airborne. Was the brigade that was for me, yeah. And
the
then
top, yeah.
I was ready to complete the selection for special forces and all the stuff. And one day, sometimes destiny has another plan for us. And for me, had another. I was. In a patrol with my platoon, and we did a lot of with a lot. You know what I'm talking about. A lot of weight in the back, a lot of kilometers, and my legs were a little bit tired, and I took a radix of a tree. So nothing so cool. I didn't break. I didn't have an injury.
You weren't in a gunfight. You weren't in a gunfight, and
With my foot, and I break my knee, and my knee went. I had a very bad injury, and at that point, at that time, the surgery for that kind of injury was quite heavy, and provide you some points, invalidation points. So this means that not more active service in this way at that time. So the best case scenario was office, or in general, like a logistic task or something. And no way I'm going to do that. No way I'm going to pass the next 40 years inside a room in front of a laptop. I shoot my balls if I need to do something like that. So
I'm right there with you, man. I'm the same kind of
so I
man.
said that if this is what destiny had for me in this, for my dream, okay, this is plane A is done, it's finished. So I needed to go for plane B, and I said, this is what I want to do in my life. And so if it's not enough playing B, I'm going from play C or D, whatever. But this is what I'm going to do in my life, because this is what I love, and nobody can stop me on this. And this is what I did. So the first thing I did, basically, I tried to enter in the private security, and I started to do some bullshit around the work courses, little job, but I realized immediately that I was doing the wrong thing, because I was entering in the industry from the wrong door, from not even the service door, not the main for sure, but not even the service door. And if uh, I understood at that time that I wasn't in the right path, and so I said, no way that I go forward. This is not. I can't arrive anywhere from this point, because I have no knowledge. I know meat. I am no meat and no fish. I'm like a mixed salad, and no specialization, no qualification, except the one I took in the military. But the experience was too short to have that kind of value. So I said, I need knowledge, but who is going to provide me knowledge? Because the government side is done. So how I can do it? And the answer was quite easy: buy books, buy studies. So I started to study, and at got my first degree in science of investigation and security, and then I'm going for science of formation. And I start to work in a private sector, but in a different way. I did a lot of courses of specialization around the world from different kind of topic, from risk assessments. I work with in a close protection courses. I work in with different kind of companies, and then I start to teach inside the university as well. I taught for more than 10 years inside the university, and at the same time I start to work for like, that's a little bit more delicate, let's say a group, a financial group. We provide them by different companies external assets for different kind of services. They have their security service, their security compartment, but for specific services, especially in some areas, in some countries, high-risk countries, uh, they provide it with external companies, and I started there. And I start to work basically all around the world. I work in South America, starting from the first of 2000, Middle East, Africa for sure was my first place, and Southeast Asia. I did basically everywhere. I touched, except for Australia, the rest of the world, I touched everywhere. Not all the countries, but all the continents. So,
Wow.
and from that point in 2006, we start to provide one of the branch of the business of this group was also to provide training to kind of security company that they work with different kind of money and gold and diamonds and all the stuff like that. I protected people. I protected more cash, a lot of cash. We moved a lot of cash during the years, and VIP for sure a lot, and then gold, diamond, and also a really particular task. It's like it's something that is hard. It's out of the net of the big the network companies of private security companies. This is more like it's when you go from a tailor, because uh, between the large distribution, what we did was specific services that only a small company can tailorize the needs of the clients, the specific needs. So what we this is was the word. If I need to choose one of the main word for that season is the word trust. Was the trust was the
Mm.
base of everything, and that was really one of the most interesting season of my life, because it's where I learned a lot. I working in an asymmetric security a lot, in asymmetric tasks a lot, and this is where I really, that was my real university in terms of application, especially because we work in a really different kind of environments. And at that time we didn't have so much technology or support as you can have today. So the biggest part was based on human resource and human capital. So there was, it's where you can understand. And this, it's sometimes I laugh when I see the message that this industry is spreading in terms of professionals when they want to, because we are spreading, I think, many times, too much times we spread the wrong message. Because people start, what I feel from social media, what I read, what I feel is that people think that everything is first of all, that they think that like a gunfight is something cool. You hear
Listen
me?
up, you guys. Listen up. I'm telling everyone to listen to what you're about to say.
No,
You know.
or that the experience of a professional is based on the number of gunfight. One of the question, the most dumb question that I found when I deal with other professionals, hey, what's your background? How many gunfight did you have? Something like that. That's I can tell you that I'm doing this job about now more than I think 25 years, more than 25 years, something like that. I never ask it to anyone, which is your background. It required me 5 minutes talking with him to understand if the person I am in front is someone that choose the job or not. You don't have to ask. You never ask. I don't need it. It's one of the dumb questions you can make to another profession. And what we are doing, when I see people that they think that this job is cool because you can dress a plate carrier and the last model of a super customized rifle with a super customized optics, and you
Get 'em.
dress your cap and you are cool with your Oakley. And as I say, you don't understand, you don't know, but you can work with a rifle probably in 3-4 countries in the world, and only if you have a specific country with government. Otherwise, now it's not anymore. Not because you work in Africa, you are allowed to carry a rifle outside. You're going to discover how comfortable are the jails, the room with the bars on the window, the hotels in Africa or in the Middle East or in South America. Do you think that because people think that a task is based on the gunfight? People think that because you use the firearms, you can't wait to use it to test it on the field. No way.
I think it comes from ignorance, like not ignorance in the demeaning way, but genuine lack of experience and genuine lack of understanding. I think this is why me and you got along at SHOT Show, because we were like hiding away from everyone, and they would come up and this guy's like, "Hey, my name's Tom, 8 years Navy SEAL. Who are you?" And I was like, "I'm Byron. Like, I don't know. I was a Marine. Can we still hang out? Like, am I cool? And it's like these guys, I don't know how to really quantify it, but the real deal guys, are humble, and we don't want any violence, and especially if you've really seen that stuff, it's something, it's something that is not. We want to avoid these things. And the most legit guys are the guys that don't care about any of that stuff. You give me a weapon, I can do whatever I need to do with it. And it's not the gear that makes the man. It's not the gear. It's not the background. It's the character. And those are the real warriors, man.
You know what?
100, 1,000,000,000%.
And sometimes, especially when I talk with a super tactical ninja, or the people that they really want to be part of this industry, enter. I want to work as a PSD. I want to work in a close protection. I want to work. Cool. And you dress like this, right? You think that you can arrive in a foreign country dressed with a military pants or military shirt or like a contractor at the airport? Yeah, that's the best way to pass the next 6 hours in the immigration office, explaining why you are in the country with maybe a tourist visa. If you are there for a job application somewhere and you have another kind of visa, or just you got the attention of the authority before you just put your first foot, your right foot out of the airport. Understand? And this is why I always say, do you know which is the main problem in this kind of task, even in Irish task? Logistic.
That's the dang truth.
Face logistic. The second problem are people, because your team, the characters and the attitude and a lot of bullshit are related with the people that are involved in the task. And again, what is the main advantage you can have? Trustable local contact. That's what makes the difference in 98% of the foreign countries.
Relationships.
You must be sure to know the laws there, what you are authorized to do or not, how you can work or what you can do, or even how you can move, where you need to stay, there are tons of things that the traffic, there are countries, for example, where it's better to use a driver instead to drive you the vehicles, because if something happened, not a gunfight, but a car incident, if you and someone is going to be local is going to be injured, you are going to pass a very bad moment, and it costs you a lot because you are foreign in a kind of country where corruption is at the top. So they wait you for that. They wait you to take down someone with the bicycle or the motorbike, and you have to pay a lot if you want to exit from the country. This is why we use, for example, local drivers, but you need to trust the local driver. You need to train the local driver. And many times when you do a short time, there is no way that you are authorized to carry a firearm. Absolutely, no one is going to provide you a permit for a private security or close protection for 10 days. That this is a simple, it's simple. It's fantasy. It's fantasy story. It's just a myth. People think that you can go around some place like Latin America or Africa or Southeast Asia dressed like a contractor, in full gear. High profile is not anymore applied. You can work even in a places where you have high risk. You can go out with a double platform, or you go out with rifle, or you go out with a pistol, or the few time you are authorized. For example, it's happening many times with us because the government task. You are authorized just to carry a firearm that is a pistol, not for sure a rifle. Understand? And you need to be careful on the use of that platform. It's not because you are authorized that you are like a cowboy. If you take down a subject, even because maybe was the reason, if you can avoid it, it's always better than do it. Because
100%.
our tons of problem that arrives immediately. There is nothing cool on this.
Big problems.
Cool on gunfight, and there is nothing that can warrant to you that you are going to win it, because it happens. You can leak. I can do my draw perfectly 1,000 times in the range, and that day I'm going to grab my T-shirt and I'm dropping out the platform, and this is mean game over. That's it. No more. And people say, "Hey, why you don't go in? Why you don't go in Ukraine? Because there is a war, fucking idiot. I need to go to a war. That's not my war. I'm really close to Ukrainian people, but the people. But this doesn't mean because I'm a firearm instructor that I need to join all the war in this planet."
Dude, I love it. I love it.
I received this question, I never reply because I think it's even if
it's so ignorant. It's just ignorant.
If I'm going to reply, I'm dumber than the question. Understand? But when they tell me, "Hey, why you are so fast? Why you don't go in Ukraine?" Yeah, why? There is something called war. Do you think it's a joke? You think that we don't have business? We don't have people that work for us? That we have the responsibility to pay? No, and
provide.
Yeah, to provide food or the family, whatever.
Yeah, man. I
say this is the mess. And do you know how many people they joined that stuff? People that came from Airsoft, people that they think it's cool to go there. That's what scares me a lot.
Yeah.
They never what means violence. You know what I mean?
This is 100%.
And part of the fault is also on us, in the trainers, in the firearms trainers, because we continue to sell what they want and not what they need. And we do this because money. We need to be honest on this. Because if I exit with, "Hey guys, I'm going to have
a real
course. 2 days going to be in a classroom. 1 day we're going to make bang, bang, bang." Oh no, that is a boring course. Fuck no, I don't need it. Why I need to go? It's a pistol course. Why I need to go in the classroom? Because the problem is that 98% is based on your brain and not on your finger. And it's so hard to train your brain. It's so easy to train your finger. So the more you make bang, bang, the less you learn. But this is a kind of concept that is too hard to explain to people that they don't want to learn for real. They want to have fun. That's the real thing. This industry is a soap bubble. This industry is a soap bubble, and I can tell you, I want to write an article that I will upload in the next days about this, because you know what? The more things I see around the internet, I don't want to call out anybody. It's the general. Me, the fault is also me. I'm a part of this industry. So the fault is in a general. I don't want to call anyone else out. But in general, we need to be careful on the message that we spread. Because when we teach to civilians CQB tactics for hostage rescue, what's the meaning? Why need to teach a civilian how to rescue a hostage in the airplane? And maybe his job is a bank or dentist, or he sells fruit, has a fruit market. Where we want to go there? Which is the ethic we have? And again, the same process in everything we do. Because, people want everything immediately without avoiding the hard job, pretending that a course become a miracle, that in 8 hours or 16 hours, you pass all the knowledge. Like for induction, like you do with the iPhone. That doesn't work in this way.
Absolutely not.
And, that's another point is I'm a big fan of logic and common sense. I tell you, I didn't finish my background, but to go very fast.
This is awesome. We're deep in the weeds, man. This is good stuff. This is what people need to hear.
In 2006, we start to provide training to other companies. So at one point I said, listen, if I need to do this for other people, I'm going to do by myself. And I start to develop the system. And my system is changed a lot during the years. In 2006, I didn't have the proper, I don't know how to explain in English. I was not so mature as a trainer.
Mm-hmm.
Because, the age is important.
It really is.
Important.
Mm-hmm.
And not because I didn't have, but the mindset was completely different. And even the feedback and the experience in training and the application of training and the feedback we got during the years changed a lot. And we still change our drills, our protocols. We refresh the protocols twice a year, at least, some of them. And based mainly on the brain.
Mm-hmm.
5% is based on the brain, 25% is based on the mechanics, on the finger. But being a big fan of logic, we need to find the proper starting point. And people don't realize which is the starting point, which is the first problem that we have to face. That is the biggest problem in training that we need to face. The problem is this, that is common to whatever is related with firearms and training is under this problem. If we are talking about, I don't want to put a tag like a tactical shooting, because it's a not tactical shooting. I prefer a professional application of firearms, because I don't need to be tactical. What means tactical? It's abused term, like warrior is another term that is super abused in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so what is tactical? It's a professional application of firearms. So which is the first problem we need to face in this? Is the environment. So think about that. Doesn't matter who, everyone want to train with a firearm. Normally this happens inside a specific training facility that are built to allow people to use firearms safely, that are ranges, or the training facility that are built for firearms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter if you are a civilian with passion, if you are a competitive shooter, sport shooters, if you are a police officer, special forces, or military guy. If you use a firearm outside of the real environment in training, then you will use a firearm inside a shooting range. And what is a shooting range? The shooting range is a controlled environment, right? So if we take, for example, for example, the competitive shooter, sports shooter, okay? The sports shooter train itself inside the shooting range. Great. When we talk about training application, we are talking about the loop is a loop that is called training and application. Why? So I train myself to increase my performances, to increase my skills, my abilities in shooting. Doesn't matter the discipline that I'm going to cover. If I'm going to shoot with pistol, rifle, shotgun, or trap, whatever. I train inside the shooting range, right? And then where I'm going to apply for competition? Inside the shooting range, because competition are made inside the shooting range. So the attendance of the redundance between the training environment and the applicative environment is 100%. Is totally. I have a complete attendance between my training environment and my applicative environment, because I'm going to find this can change the morphology of the structure, right? But is the same environment. So for a competitive shooter has 100% of the attendance between the two environments. Now let's come to us. People who use a firearm as a tool in their job as a police officer, private security, or civilian that has the defensive license, so carry a firearms every day. Where we train? Inside the shooting range, right? So we have in common with a competitive shooter, we have the training environment. That is the same environment. But where we apply?
In the shooting range.
We are going to apply in the real environment.
In the real world, yeah.
And what have the two environments, what they have in common? The shooting range with the real environment. You know what they have?
Very little.
Nothing except one element. Us.
Yeah.
Only elements in common between the two environments. It's like you prepare a unit for a jungle warfare, and then they are going to apply in Arctic. So,
wow.
And people don't realize this. Let's analyze this in details, because another problem in this industry is the level that you want to, or the level you want to approach. This is a complex method that is firearms, the professional application of firearms. And the shooting range is a 2D environment, it's bidimensional environment. I tell you some paradoxes very fast. It's a bidimensional environment, it's flat, right? The real environment is 3D and it's not flat. The shooting range is built to allow a safe use of firearms. The real environment is not built for firearms. So it's not a proper environment to use firearms. The ballistic environment you can find inside the shooting range is homogeneous. The ballistic environment you find in a real environment is heterogeneous. In 10 yards, if you walk for 10 yards down the street, you can have multiple ballistic environments around you. You can have elements that can change completely your priorities in reaction. You can have walls, vehicles, people, crowd, shop, bar, restaurant, anything.
Glass.
Your reaction, your priorities could be totally different than 10 meters before. And this is not something that you can have in the shooting range. Another element, on the shooting range, whatever you're going to do, you're going to be the first is going to move. The first is going to shoot. And the only one is going to shoot. Yeah, that's why it's training. Those advantages is something that you don't have in a real environment. Why? Because there is a word that defines your condition, and is the word defense. The word defense means that in general, now, you can have little differences, especially in terms of home defense and the castle doctrine between other kind of laws around the world. But in general, the rules of self-defense are based on the fact that you are authorized to use anything, including firearms, even as extrema ratio, if your life is in danger or the life of someone else around you is in danger. but how you can define danger. What means that it's not because I see a firearm, I see a print of a firearm in a subject, I can draw out my firearm and I can shoot him because I think could be a danger. Because in this case, I'm going in jail. Now, this is called murder. It's not self-defense. And maybe it's a police officer, right? So it's not because you see or you can understand that it could be a danger that you can react or you can act for first. You need to be sure that you are in danger, that your life is in danger before you take out your firearm and you use your firearm. This means that probably you're going to start for second and not for first. And this means that you start in reaction and not in action. But we know that action is faster than reaction because inside there is a parameter that is called initiative. I mean, I decide when, I decide where, I decide how. You need to adapt on my decision. So on the range, we are the first. On the real, we are probably the second. On the range, we are the only one. On the real world, no. Another point is when we are on the range, the interaction we have, the brain, the job that our brain has to do on the range in terms of the interaction with the environment, it's really limited because the interaction with the environment in a shooting range, the shooting range is a very, very low environment in terms of stimulus, in terms of input. Think about the sounds that you can have on the shooting range are limited. The voice or the bang or any other information can arrive, right? You can listen to music, but doesn't change a lot. In terms of view, what you need to analyze where the targets are, that most of the time are pre-known targets. The reaction input, when we use a sound as a reaction, that's the most common input we use on the range, beep, that sound is an auditory input that is always the same. And the length of that input is quite long, it's 0.20 more or less. And it's always the same. So we react from an input that is a pre-known input, engaging a target that's pre-known target. Most of the time are static. Most of the time, we don't need to take care about collaterals because we are in a safe place. Sure, it's controlled because even if we are in the range, we still apply safety rules. Because if we don't follow safety rules, even the shooting range could become unsafe because the improper use of a firearm. So this is why it's a controlled environment. So there are tons of things, right? Think about that. How far we are from the goal, from the real goal. This is logic, not zero, right? You can agree on this. You can
100%. Yeah.
You can agree that 9.9% of the time when we measure the reaction is made by the buzzer, by the phonochronometer that is called timer, where we have an input that is a sound input, auditory input every time, same input every time. We know that input. We are aware that we are going to receive that input. So our brain is already boom. As soon as we receive the beep, we start the action that most of the time is a pre-known action. Now, think about that the shooting test, the protocols, the evaluation tests, the shooting evaluation tests are based on two parameters, right? Like the competitions. Accuracy and time. Is this correct? Great.
100%. Those are your metrics. That's what we're going for.
Then we call that reaction. Is that a reaction time? No, that is not a reaction time at all. That is just a mechanical. That is the time that requires our body to complete a sequence that is a pre-known sequence. That is a pre-known motor skills patterns and cognitive patterns that we create by reps that people call muscle memory. But muscles, they have no memory. doesn't exist. Muscle memory is a myth. It's our brain that recognizes a sequence of movement as a single one. But we measure this and think that we are measuring our reaction time. So this, you know how many times happened with the units, and we are talking about top level special units that are very strong on mechanics, but as soon as I put some speed ups, I changed the reaction input. Instead of have the auditory input always on the buzzer, I insert different kind of auditory input or visual input. We continue to start from auditory input, but 70% of the environment is acquired from us by our eyes. So the first sense is the view. So we continue to work on the auditory, but the main one, probably if something's going to happen, 70% is going to be by our eyes. So,
Wow.
98% of people train during on the shooting range. 86% of violent crimes happen during low light condition, during a night, evening, during on the dark.
Yep.
But
Man.
people, they never join low light.
Wow. Because they're not that cool, man.
Oh man, we can start. I asked you how many times we had, because there are so many things, and one thing is related with another, you know. But you see, what I have seen even by my social media platform, many times I did some post, long post, because there is no way to make it shorter. In this industry, we have the bad habit that we want to translate everything with the cool sentences. The all easy day was yesterday.
Right.
The more you
Sweat in training, the less you bleed in combat. Yeah.
These sentences are cool, but Jesus Christ, are bullshit. I cannot proceed. I can't base my knowledge on these sentences. Are you kidding me? Think about. I want to bring you in a point, okay? Let's go back in a professional shooter, a professional athlete, competitive shooter. How much time a professional athlete? We have tons of brands that are professional shooters, are champions. How many time they train themselves on the range? A lot. They do fit
They
training.
live on the range.
They shoot a lot. They shoot thousands and thousands around every year, every week, every day they train, at least 3-4 times a week, and then they do competition. For what? They do all this stuff, sacrifices, hard work, everything to reach what? To win the competition, right? But which could be the worst case scenario for them? To lose competition.
Yeah, that's it. It's a game.
So let's take a civilian that carry a firearm every day. What the civilian doesn't understand is that the moment that you decide to carry a firearm is the moment that you are aware that one day you could need that tool to defend yourself. Otherwise, why you carry a firearm? So this means that you put in you start to analyze a concrete possibility, concrete chance, that a solid chance that one day you could need that tool to save your life. So basically, this means that one day you could compete for what? For your life.
For your life, yeah.
And is the response in terms of training once a month, maybe 3-4 times a year, but are enough. I have a gun. I carry a firearm. I'm safe already. So a professional shooter train every day, almost every day, and the worst case scenario for him is to lose the competition, to don't win the league or the federation or whatever is the title. And for a civilian, the worst case scenario is to lose his life. But we continue to refuse this point. We continue to ignore this point. If we carry a firearm, it's because one day we can compete for our life, or even worse, for the life of our family.
Yeah. This is the game, man. There's so much stuff you said in here that was just it was like church. You know, I'm sitting here just, man, and this is exactly why with the symposium, I remember when I started trying to put the event together, and I started thinking to myself, like, the reality is the software, man. Rookies spend money on hardware, professionals spend money on software. And I remember thinking to myself, like, how do I get people to really value, or how do I sneak in like a Trojan horse, like the fact that they need to learn before they even deal with these firearms, the study of, or the ology of what it really takes to be safe. I have a whole library in the Protector Nation library of all these presentations, and I'm always trying to tell people, hey, go watch these guys talk about what it is to be a protector. And nobody cares. We sell a couple a week, like nobody cares, right? And so I remember being like, okay, so we will have we'll have 2 range days, but at least one day we will devote to the soft skills, because as I do this professionally every single day, you know, I know that what gets me home, and because, you know, we've been in fights and we've lived this life, we know that what's going to get you home is this software, you know, and your social dynamics, and, you know, your ability to analyze the situation, and playing chess instead of checkers, you know. But the sizzle there, and you talked about the reality of the industry, and, you know, having to make this thing make money, having to make things, you know, and it's an interesting line. It reminds me of when you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of when I worked with a lot of churches, and I would watch them, you know, they would have to do the offering thing, and they'd have to make it big, because they need to make enough money to make the thing go, you know. But then at the same time, the actual message sometimes would suffer, and that's what I'm trying not to do, you know. And that's why I'm always like, Friday we're going to the auditorium and we're going to learn, and then we're going to have fun at the range, you know, for 2 days. But I have agreed with you from the beginning, man. This is good stuff.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
To go straight on the topic that we need to cover, we talk about vehicles, right?
Yes.
So let's say that, in my opinion, when someone, how we can be prepared in terms of, you know, training to carry a firearm every day. Doesn't matter if even more if I'm a police officer, military guy, but even if I am a civilian or a security guard, how I can train, or where I need to train for what. And I think that the 4 pillars of defense are: pillar number 1, firearm manipulation. You need to be a black belt in firearm manipulation. This meaning you need to be able to manage your platform. In this case, we talk about pistol, if it's a pistol, in a professional way. You need to know, you need to work you need to start from the foundation of shooting that people want to avoid. Is the most important part. The foundation of shooting. You know, which is, for a special operator, is the capability to manage the foundation under high level of stress.
100%. This is why, and I've had some, you know, some guys that I haven't worked with, and I have civilians, and they're like, are we going to do rifle? I'm like, no, we're going to do pistol, because that's your katana. What are we walking around with all the time, every day? It's pistol. One man, pistol. That's it. Unless you're on a SWAT team or you're a space trooper, one man, pistol. That's it. You're in 7-Eleven, it's you and your stinking pistol. And no plate carrier, unless you're a cop.
Yeah, and, you know, so you need to be able to face emergencies, to face malfunctions, to work on the foundation. You need to be a master on the foundation of shooting. That's pillar number 1. Pillar number 2, The pillars are provided by logic, not by zero. And I challenge everyone to say that this is not true. Pillar number 2, when you carry a firearm every day, all day long, or you carry just on the morning. So this means
Every
that
day, man.
during daylight and during low light. But you know perfectly that daylight and low light are two different planets. If you don't know nothing about low light, and it's not enough to take 2-day course of low light. It requires you hundreds hours of application to understand how you need to manage the lighting, how you need to go over the lighting, how you need to manage tools. Everyone wants to have a surefire or super flashlight under pistol. Cool, but you're able to use it? You're able to use a hand light in the proper way? You're able to use your flashlight properly inside your house, for example? So if you carry a firearm even in a low light condition, you need to be trained for that. Otherwise, you have a big gap in your in your knowledge, in your preparation, right?
Yeah, and it's when stuff happens a lot of times.
Yeah, exactly where you have more risk is because statistics, right? If you read statistics in terms of violent crimes and you see when it happens during low light conditions. And there is exactly the point where you want to arrive unprepared.
Nope, don't do it.
Second pillar could be low light. The third, which is the third, but I said the third could be the second. After the foundations, the other pillars, you can invert the order, doesn't matter, but you need to be prepared. The third one is vehicles. Why? Because the vehicle is part of your daily life. Because it depends how much time you spend inside a vehicle. Okay, I don't own a vehicle, I just use a bicycle. Maybe it's not your main goal, the vehicle, but it's better to know what happened because it's one of the most complex environment. Because after we cover specifically the vehicle, and we start to explain what we will do there.
I was looking for content for us to do these tactical reviews that we'll go through, maybe one or two before we get off here. And almost I'd say 70% of the videos that I have done tactical protection reviews on of real world action, there are vehicles in the thing somewhere. There's vehicles in the environment because these transitional spaces people are in. That's gas stations. It's on the way from your house to your car, from your car to your work.
Yeah, because
they're always there.
Is one of the most common vector to move people we use in our society, in our daily life. And not only, traffic is one of the main issues that we need to face, especially if you live in the cities. I worked in some places where people spend at least 5-6 hours at minimum a day inside a vehicle just to go to work and go back home. Daily routine. So the vehicle is one of the most complex environment. Why? Because a vehicle is a vector. And when we talk about training and vehicles, we need to be clear in what we are going to train, because vehicles mean different topics, different chapters. One is when the vehicle is a dynamic. In this case, is a vector. And that case, we are talking about driving. That's completely different than fighting. For example, the model that we are going to apply during the symposium is a static, is related with the ratio, the 3 ratio we have on the vehicle. When the vehicle is a static vehicle, this means internal to external, that is a defensive ratio, it's a defensive report, and external to external is neutral condition, neutral report, and extend. That is not something we are going to cover. The third one, that external to internal, how to stop the vehicle. Why we don't cover? Because this is specifically for military and law enforcement. There is no way for a civilian to learn how to stop a vehicle because they don't need to do it. Understand? So is not the case. Is not the priority. First, we need to work on the first two. That's our. But this is not enough, because when we talk about vehicle, the vehicle is a ballistic environment. Is a ballistic filter that is 360 degrees around us. And we are inside a ballistic filter that is heterogeneous, because the vehicle has hard point and soft point. The vehicle has solid parts, has glasses. Every single glass is different. The windshield doesn't react like a side glass. The windshield doesn't react like a rear glass. So, and here there are tons of things that I did thousands and thousands of ballistic tests. I had the luck even to work for the second largest ammunition group in the world. We did a lot of ballistic tests. In my life, I worked a lot on the vehicles. This is why we work with the armored vehicle, we work with the low-vis vehicle, standard vehicles. We work it because in other things, there are tons of parameters that can change completely tactics. As the left driving, right driving change a lot.
Yeah.
The vehicle, as soon the vehicle is a dynamic, you apply. The vehicle is always the first line of defense. As soon as a dynamic, until it's dynamic, is a vector. The priority is to keep the vehicle moving. It's not to stop and fight.
100%.
It's a yes number one, drive through and fast.
Find a way out.
Yes. Number two, reverse out. That means that if you can't go through, then reverse your direction, but move, don't stop. Only if you can't do point number one and point number two, stop and make it. But this is the last chance. It's like a gunfight. You need to avoid as more as you can until you need it.
Yeah.
So
keep that vehicle in motion. Vehicle's the best, most underrated force multiplier. And then you see all these guys at these schools training all this stuff like shooting and all this stuff. And I'm like, yo, and in some of my videos, I talk about it. I'm like, the major thing I see wrong with this incident is that vehicle could have driven out this way, could have driven out that way. They stopped the vehicle. So we will start from the vehicle being stopped. But if you can get away, drive over the curb, get away. This is why we teach at my school how to ram through, and how to ram through is a science. You can't just drive through things. You know, it'll shut your car off. You get punched in the face with your airbag if you don't do it right. It takes practice.
Because you know what? On the starting point, doesn't matter which will be the starting point, there are things that we can know and things that we can't know. So, for example, we can't know when, where, and how. This is something that is in the hand of our opponents. But for logic, if we are going to be attacked, we are going to be attacked when our conditions are critical conditions, where we are weaker than them.
Right.
So they have to plan their attack in a specific point, in a specific area, in a specific moment. So we don't. So every time we know that we are going in a critical phase of our daily life, we need to be aware of this. We need to avoid condition before, because after it's too late. After we can cover this point. But so in the base of this, if we stop exactly in the X. Where did they stop? So we need to move and keep the vehicle moving as more as we can. The priority is not to stop, it's to drive, to escape from that condition. If we can. If we can't, and then we are going to see at the symposium where we can do. But what I was telling you is the 4 pillars were master the foundation, low light, vehicles, CQB. CQB means not hostage rescue, not
what?
Single man. CQB means to have knowledge and competence in a fight in a closed space. That could be your house because you spend time in your house. If you have an intruder, you need to understand how to move. And believe me, people is one of this is another condition that is the worst case scenario, because people they base their idea of home defense basing on the movies, basing on the message we spread. Oh, if someone entering my house, I can move in my house blindfold. Yeah, if you need to go to take a Coke or a beer on the frigidaire downstairs, yes, you can do it. But if you have an intruder inside your house, it's not anymore your house, it's your house. You are going, your house become an aseptic in an aseptic space where you need to fight for your family, for your life. And many times you don't have time to evaluate the threat because you can't in a short time. And the starting point, you are sleeping maybe, so you are unconscious, and then in a frame of second you need to wake up, take your platform, be ready to have a gunfight for you, defending your life or the life of your family. That's so hard. In the other side, the opponent is full of adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol. It's ready, it's aware about the risk is conducing entering your house. And if he brought a firearm with him, it's not anymore a thief, it's a potential murder because he brought a firearm to defend himself. And if you think that you could be a threat, it's going to kill you. Or maybe it's going to kill you anyway because the value of life in some countries is zero. So you need to face that condition. And 5 seconds before you were sleeping. Do you know what means this? How many times everyone is reps, reps, reps. Cool. How many times you tried this? How many times you tried this action? How many times you draw a pistol in the range? 1,000 and 1,000 times. You are so strong. Cool. How many times you try this action? And another question, you live alone or with your family? Because if your family's in, you could be the most trained guy in your area. But your family, what about your family? The first round is going on air, the first shot. If you don't control, and how you can control your kids, maybe in another room, maybe they start to screaming, running, maybe your wife can run in the highway or change a room or can cross your line of fire anytime, because when you're under stress stroke and with panic, you start to act in a
erratic way, in different ways.
So you are prepared for this? Are you sure? How many times you tried? Your kids are trained for this? Do you know what it means to shoot inside a closed environment?
Inside of a building?
Do you know the acoustic shock you are going to get there? And the muzzle flash? And maybe you are not trained for low light? Do you think that you start to push on all the lights? You think it's easy? And another thing, you don't know how many are inside your house. Maybe one, maybe more. You don't know where they are. And you think you want to tell me that you move blindfold without scouting, without clear a room? If you don't know how to clear a room, if you don't know how to afford a door, if you don't know what means the fatal time, if you don't know how to manage close space, plus other people that is with you, your family, that's the worst case scenario. I prefer to fight a full team of cartels than to fight with my family inside it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, I love what you're saying, man. The fundamentals, and we're gonna have, we don't have the low light, but we're gonna have the vehicle stuff. We're gonna have the one-man CQB. We're gonna have, defending your pistol, things like that. Because
great.
Yeah, man, I've spent so much in one course, in one weekend.
4 of the pillars in one course, man.
It's
amazing. Why I talking about pillars? Because this is a kind of course that is an amazing experience. You have great trainers. Yeah, not me. I mean the others. You have a lot of interesting informations there that can cover different topics. The main topics you need as civilian, as law enforcement as well.
Right.
Because you need to enforce your training.
100%. Yeah. And so that's why we put it together this way, because I want you guys to walk away, increase that protection quotient you have. And it's really, really the way we put it together is to get them here first, and then we go out and we do the stuff. And the last thing I wanted to say before we play a few videos is I've spent most of my practicing career on the range, and I've been really approaching the equation that you've been talking about, which is, okay, cool. Like I can run through competitive shooting. I can run through the range. And I'm like, I gotta get to the force on force piece, man. You know, like that's gotta be in there somewhere. It's still in a controlled environment, but how can we know that we're ready if we're not sparring with other humans trying to superimpose their will, at least? You know, so that's been something we've been trying to push into. And almost every module you guys go through is going to have some component of force on force in there, you know, and don't let that scare you. This is a place for warriors to come, for protectors to come and fail in the safety of other people that want them to be better protectors. This is where you want to come and mess up and fail. I will be out there training with you, being vulnerable with you. It's like a brotherhood. It's actually a love that we have for each other. I go to the dojo to get choked out amongst my brothers so it doesn't happen in the streets. So this is where you come to learn. You know, this is what the game is about. So I want to encourage you guys, women, everybody.
I can tell you that I don't think we will not make any kind of discount in terms of we're going to slap their ass as hard as we can.
100%. That's that warrior love language, man. We are going to train hard because that's how it's going to be in real life. So this is good stuff, man. I can't wait. Let's take a look at a couple of these. We'll look at some of this one I think we mentioned. Okay, so we have a traffic stop. Imagine you are sitting here in traffic. We're all going to be in this situation probably at some point today. And Instructor Zero, give us like your takeaways from this event. Someone's getting out of the car in front of you. And they start shooting.
Yeah, full auto.
Mm-hmm.
Very short. They with rifles. So basically, I think this environment, I don't know nothing about this video. I think the environments in United
Mm-hmm. That's the situation. Okay, go ahead.
I think it's our United States, right? The environment.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Now, it's not a big deal in terms of technical approach on this video. The two things that I want to point on this video are, first, one of the, you need to forgive me, Byron, because you know what is complex is to explain something without explaining before something else.
Without the yeah.
It's hard for people to understand. So we need to say this. Vehicles is a very complex environment for everybody, for professionals and for civilians. But remember one thing. Many times a civilian has, in terms of range of risk, has higher risk than a special force guy. Like a law enforcement officer that work as a patrol guy has more than a SWAT guy. Why? Because let's say about civilian, right? Civilians can go from 0 to 100 in a frame of second. The problem is how often this happens. Routine can kill you 1 inch per day in terms of professional, in terms of civilian. So day by day, because nothing happened, your level of awareness and your level of tension start to decrease. This happens even on the professional side in any kind of field. It's one of the enemy that we need to face, routine.
Complacency.
When you are a member of special force, you know that your job is high-risk job, but you are prepared for that. You train every day for that, and you apply quite often. And when you apply, you are aware of the risk. A law enforcement officer can stop 10 vehicles, 1,000 vehicles, nothing happened. Especially if we are talking about countries, cities where are very safe, where nothing happened, and you don't have the habit to face with criminals. So your level of attention awareness is lower than an officer that applying LA or in Detroit.
Or a SWAT officer.
So, but again, for example, traffic police can stop 1,000 vehicles, nothing. At one point, they stop the wrong one, and boom. Okay, a SWAT team, when they arrive, they already know that they are going to be involved in an action. So the range of risk for a special force or for a SWAT team could go from 60 to 100, from 80 to 100, and 80 is the lowest level. For a civilian, it's 0, but the highest is in common, 100, because life is one. The life is the same. For police officers, special forces, civilian, life is one. If they lose their life, they lose their life. Game over. Doesn't matter how it happened. Understand? So why I said this? Because one of the hardest things is to match and apply every day in our daily life what is really useful. For example, look at the traffic line here. Rule number 1, when you are on a traffic line, get always space. Don't stop your vehicles, attach it to the other. Otherwise, you don't have any more space. If you need to escape from the line, if you need to make a maneuver, if you need to exit from the line, if you don't keep space, you can see, for example, the gray car before the written only, there is a huge space between that car. That's perfect. But how much time you apply this every day? Are you able to apply this rule every day, every time you stop in a traffic? Are you able to keep this attention? Because in close protection, you have to do it, right? If you work as a driver, this for you is mandatory.
100%.
Distance from other vehicles. So, but the hardest thing is to apply this every day.
Right.
Now, every time the vehicle is going to be a static vehicle, like traffic light, because traffic light or traffic jam, whatever, your risk start to increase. In some countries, you can have even during dynamic conditions. In South Africa, it's very common that they are going for car hijacking, even in a highway. I told you before, or they can robber you even while you are driving. Even in Latin America, if you drive a motorbike or a car, they can go for you even in dynamic condition. But every time you stop, then you are more, the exposure of the risk start to increase. Now, what I can make the evidence here, the second point is you should think in this video, not if you were the target of the attack, but even the other car beside, behind, or in front of the car that was attacked by criminals. Because remember, guys, that criminals have no rules. They don't care to generate collateral. They don't care if they kill 3 people more than their target. They shoot, period. So then another important point is how to react even if you are not involved in that kind of attack. Think about if you have your family in that vehicle. What are you going to do immediately? As soon as you see someone with a rifle pass your car, or as soon as you heard the shots, what you're going to do, how you can exit, or which are the priorities, the immediately action drills that you're going to apply. Have you ever thought about this? Because this is important. It's not only about the target. If you are the direct target, you could be involved in a gunfight that is dangerous as the same, and you could not be the target of that attack, but you can have the same danger as the attack as the target, because maybe you are the car that is beside, bullets flying in the air. So it's you need to understand this is important. And look at here, look at the reaction of people. Someone start to brake, then try to give gas, but no one exit from the line, no one force the line. Nothing. It's like normal action. That is a surprise about this view. How the other cars, nobody moved, nothing. Even the car, if you hear to the audio of the guys that are inside this car, the camera car, you can understand that. Oh shit! But nothing more than. I mean,
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things I go after with those tactical protection reviews, because I think, especially if you're not trained with them, to use a buzzword, the mindset of always looking for something, having your awareness, knowing that when you're stopped, your risk increases. You have this, I think most people have this little cognitive dissonance, this gap of, is this really happening? What's going on? Da, 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 the civilian mind. And that makes them extremely vulnerable. Because to me, when I look at this, the first thing I see is, hey, this gap right here, you see these guys get out with these guns, this little gap that from the front of that hood to the back of that red car, I'm going hard to the right, and I'm driving up on that curb, and I'm leaving everyone.
100%. Absolutely. Especially if I had my family inside, as soon as
Forget it.
like that, I move out.
I'm gone.
Or the red car or whatever. I'm going to move out from the line, and I'm going to try to escape from that kind of condition. I'm going to avoid the risk of to be involved in the action.
100%.
Take a collateral, even to take some rounds that are not. I was not the main target, but can receive it.
If there's a gunfight, no one knows where those rounds are going.
Exactly. When bullets start to fly in the air, is always a question mark where somewhere they're going to stop. So,
Yep.
Another point, when we talk about vehicle, one of the and this may
out from the old wild.
Sorry, just queuing up the next one. Okay, go ahead.
That's a very interesting video. Here is in the first video, we are not able to see if there was a reaction from the subject or the subjects that were inside the vehicle that was the target of the criminals. From the video, we were not able to see this, who's going to shoot, or if they react or not. But in that case was the report, the ratio was from internal to external.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, the next video, the one that you just
heart-stopping police.
Here we are talking about external to external. It's a neutral report. What means? Means that we have a vehicle. We use a vehicle basically as a cover or concealment, depending about the part of the vehicle and how we move. But basically as a cover, or cover, not literally what means cover. That means it's something that can stop bullet ricochet or a sharpness. Vehicle has some points that can work as cover, and some other points that they don't work as a cover but work as concealment. So we need to understand the difference also between cover and concealment. Anyway, in this case, we are talking about one vehicle that used by two opponents. One is the police officer. One is the subject, the criminal that's try to kill the police officer, using his vehicle as cover as well. So both are fighting around the same vehicle. And here, if you pump out the video, where you can see,
it is heart-stopping police.
Okay, we'll let it run.
Video of a police officer getting into a gunfight with a suspect he pulled over. It's a scene that kind of looks like a shootout from the old Wild West.
It started as a routine stop for a traffic violation. Then the driver's door swings open out of nowhere.
Just fired! Jesus!
Look at the white SUV heading straight into the hail of bullets. The driver hightails it out of there in reverse. The gun battle rages.
Okay, so here we have two elements. One, we have a vehicle with a subject that is firing to the officer from internal of the vehicle, and the officer probably is behind his vehicle in this moment. So in this case, who is in advantage is the officer, because the distance and the cover of the other, exactly from this moment when the subject start to approach, is going in open field. Now, the second element is the other vehicle that arrived on the scene, realized that it was a gunfight, and the reaction was perfect. He disappeared immediately. That's what that was great. This is a reaction. Now, the fact that this happened in a in a countryside area, not really high density area, was good because collaterals, because other vehicles, because there are tons of things that can go wrong. Think about that. Other people that are driving other vehicles, they can be scared. They can go under panic because the gunfight. They realize that there is a gunfight in action, so they can bump the vehicle. They can hit the officer or the other side. That could be good, but we have no warranties that we don't receive a bump or a hit from other vehicles. Think about a woman that maybe whole man that maybe they start to go under panic because they realize that they see the gunfight and maybe they hit another vehicle. There are tons of variables in the traffic that can go wrong. So we need to take care about this because this changed a lot, even in terms of our reaction from interaction. Now, to go back on the point here, you can see the subject in this case is using the shade of the vehicle of the officer. You see this lower, and it's using the shade of cover of the vehicle. You see, you stay lower, you move lower, straight to the engine of the vehicle. That is the solid. Is the solidest part of the vehicle. You see, is moving, following the shade of the vehicle, following the profile. At this point, the condition is changed. Why? Because let's go to video. So he shoot from here, then he moved, and he was able to reach the shortest distance from the vehicle in the hardest part. That was the engine. Now he is on advantage, and the officer is in disadvantage because he's closer to the engine than the officer. Now the officer is in the back part of the where you still have some cover, but for sure less than what could provide you the engine. So because the subject is so close to the engine, put the officer in a kind of condition that is in disadvantage. Plus the officer in this case, if you go forward with the video, you can see that instinctively the officer start to take distance from the vehicle. That is something that we never need to do it because the more the distance you're going to put between you and the vehicle, the more you're going without cover. And you're going to feel there are tons of video. There is one specifically it's the master about this point. Is happening, I think, in the Philippines, and involved. There is one SUV, white SUV, with a full family, with an entire family inside, and two criminals start to fight each other around the vehicles. And both of the subject, were about 10 yards from the vehicle. And they start to shoot, and no one hit the other until one ran straight to the vehicle and closed the distance. At that point, one was behind a cover and the other was in open space. And end of the game. Understand? So the officer here, it's always easy. Don't misunderstand me. I don't want to analyze the job of the officer because it's always easier to do it by the phone, sitting on the chair. You need to be inside that condition to understand and to evaluate. So this is a point number one. But at the same time, we need to analyze in a skeptic way, not to talk about the job or to criticize the job of the officer at all, but to save or help other people or other officer if this happened. So the problem is the distance you put between a cover. In this case, the main part of the vehicle is the engine. So this movement that the subject did was the point he passed from disadvantage to advantage in that kind of action. Because when he was in that kind of condition, shooting from internal to external, even if the door was open, he still used the pillar and part of the vehicle as a cover. Then he moved it from that position, following the shade of the cover of the vehicle in concealment and in cover because the engine was in his side. And he got the engine for first and the closed way. So the officer at that point was farther than him, and he can't use anymore the engine as a cover for in first person as he did at the beginning, because at the beginning why he was behind, because you use the full body of the vehicle, but the engine is the most solid part, plus the pillars, plus other hard point that you can find. We are going to discuss this during the when the subject made a closed went to the engine and it controlled basic that space, put the officer in disadvantage. Plus, the officer instinctively tried to keep more distance from the vehicle. That's is something very dangerous, because the more distance you put, the most you are uncovered, or you are basically in open field, and easier to be shot. Understand? Makes sense?
Yeah, man, that's solid. That's good stuff. It's like a push. There's a battle going on for these vehicles, man. This is good stuff. So you guys are getting some of the cheat codes you're going to get when you train with us at the Protector Symposium. Man, this has been a clinic. This has been such good information. I'm going to play this last video for everyone to see what they will have an opportunity to come and join us at this event. And then we will close it out. Boom. What's the gunfight? Boom. So you guys, that was actually the driving video that we have another course happening at the symposium. Nonetheless, Protector Symposium 5.0 is among us. We have Craig Douglas, Sawman, who's going to be here, Kawa 2 Alpha. We've got Ed Calderon. We've got Raul Martinez. And then we have the infamous Instructor Zero, who we've been working with here today. Man, this was such an easy episode because I got to just sit back and you were hammering. It was a clinic. There was so much good. It was chewy, man. This is one that you could watch a few times. So thanks so much. It's an honor and a privilege. And I hope you guys will come and join us September 16th, 17th, and 18th at this event in Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah, and absolutely. What we are going to cover in my part, in my section, we're going to cover a lot of information about vehicles, about something that could be useful not only in a fight with a vehicle or inside a vehicle, but also in a daily life. If you need to escape very fast from a vehicle, if you need maybe for other needs, because you have the need to escape from a vehicle. At the same time, the development, we are going to cover the airbags, all the safety
Safety measures.
The safety measures, yeah, that are built, because vehicles are not built for. So this is the point. So everything can protect you while you are driving a vehicle from a car incident or any other risk related of driving, is something that can kill you if you need to use a vehicle to fight, or fight inside a vehicle, or from internal to external, or around the vehicle. Why? Because we're not built for that. Also, technology. The devices we have inside the vehicle, as hard bags, our seat belts, or has many other electronic system we have in the vehicles. Think about, and you know perfectly this. One time, if you need to do a J-turn or J-turn reverse, or when you have a manual shift, clutch, everything, was way easier. Now with the modern vehicles, if you are going to try to touch the handbrake, nothing happened. There is a little light that appears like, damn, it's not the moment to press the button.
Yep, true.
Right? And when you have automatic shift, if you need to go from drive from the rear one, if you don't do it in the proper way, the shift goes in protection. So cut out your order. And this is, and if you need to do it very fast, is a big problem. So, you know, which is the problem with the vehicle courses? The problem related with the vehicle training and firearms is the way that we want to approach vehicles. Because, first of all, we don't want to go for real in a vehicle stuff. What means? Normally, when you do a vehicle course or if you a vehicle clause quarter bike or depending about how you want to call fighting model vehicle, whatever is the acronym, the concept is the same. If you are going to match firearms reaction vehicles on the range, normally what you find on the range are not really vehicles, are pieces of steel that have 2 million holes everywhere, nothing in function inside a vehicle, and the only things you learn is as soon something happens, I need to shoot. I draw out my gun, I pass up to my steering wheel, I shoot in front of me, boom, boom, boom. Then I open the door, shoot from the delta, running back, shoot from the back. Period. This is the vehicle course. In the best case scenario. In the worst, you can have 3-4 guys as a civilians that react in a full gear from a vehicle. Now I want to ask you, on statistics side, when this ever happened that you have 4 civilians in full gear with rifle and pistols that react as a team from a vehicle in our cities? Never. I didn't hear one case, but we still do that kind of course. Why? Because they need? No, because we make money on selling that kind of course.
Because it's cool.
But
yep.
It's cool because, you know, if we say, hey, come to learn vehicle stuff inside a classroom where I can explain for 3-4 hours just the ballistic of the vehicle, that's not cool. That is not something that can call people on the course. That's the reality of things, because people don't want to learn, want to have fun. But we don't, as a profession, we don't provide fun. We provide knowledge, information that must
competence,
be real information. So think about this, okay? Very few things. 98% of people is right-hand dominant, right? So this means that they carry the firearm on the right side or in happenings, in the middle, but they're going to use
facing to the right,
anyway, with the hand, right? Good. If you have left driving, like we have in Europe, or not in all part of Europe, in UK they have, it's not anymore inside the European community, but it's in the area they have right driving, but we have left driving, right? So let's say that worst case scenario, because it's something that normally rule number 1, you need to exit from the vehicle as soon the vehicle is a stocked vehicle. You don't have, if you try to react from internal to external, it could happen. It's not something that we need to avoid completely, because maybe it's not depend on us.
Right. You don't have a crystal ball.
Don't need to fight from the front seat. It's the worst case scenario we can face. We need to exit from the fucking box as soon as we can. Not for sure losing time shooting from internal to external. But if we can, if we need, then let's say if we shoot and then we can move with a vehicle, or we need to, let's say we are driving an automatic shift, okay? Something happened, we need to draw the gun immediately and shoot immediately. Cool. Now, if we need to exit, we have 2 problems. 1, we need to remove the seatbelt. Second, If we remove our foot from the brake, the vehicle is going to move. Try to exit from a moving vehicle with a gun with a firearm in your hand. You just shot. You maybe already used your firearm, so your level of stress is super high. And where is the buckle of the seatbelt? In which side?
Right next to you.
Yeah, but in which side?
Your left side.
No, your
The
right
back.
side.
The buckle.
The buckle of the seatbelt is on the
Yes.
is on the right side.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, everything is but in your right hand, you have a firearm. So with your firearm in your hand, you should put the shift here or here, or in parking, or in neutral. Otherwise, you have a moving vehicle. And you need to remove the buckle of your seatbelt. So if this happened with your gun in your hand, that you already shot some rounds, I don't know how many people that are going to do it so easy and without shoot uncontrolled, without making uncontrolled shot during the action.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with this hand. There's a whole lot going on.
On the range, if you don't use the real vehicles, you don't know that it's easy to remove. If a vehicle is a stock vehicle, no engine, no issues with the shift, no issues with the movement, is just a piece of steel where you need to remove a safety belt, a seat belt, and open a door. This is the only two action you have to do. Is way easier than the reality. And why, instead of put inside the vehicle another 3 ninja, you don't put a baby with the seat or your wife?
And your wife, yeah, sitting next to you.
Again, show me your tactics now. Show me how good you are of having your baby that is linked with the seatbelt. You are a dragon, a monster, removing all the stuff because you train it with a rifle from a vehicle. Now show me the tactic with your baby. Which is your priority? Because this is what can happen in a daily life. Except if you are alone, you don't have family, you're sure that you don't have even your friend, your girlfriend, or your boyfriend, whatever.
Or your client. Your client could be sitting behind you. You're driving them.
Sure. That's another case, a professional side. But, we want always to analyze the easy one. And people, they don't realize that it's way easier for a special force team to react from a vehicle than a civilian with a kid on the back seat.
Yep.
Understand?
100%.
It's something that they need to take care of. Do you know that in some places you need to be very fast removing your baby because they're going to store your vehicle with the baby inside? They don't care.
And they don't care, and they don't have social security numbers, and no one's going to find them.
Understand? So there are different priorities in the base of the criminal dynamics you need to face, in the base of the environment where you live, in the base of your daily life, in the base of your job, in the base of who you are. But if you carry a firearm and you talk about vehicles, you need to be real. If you don't know how it works, the ballistic filter you have around you, if you don't understand that there are specific priorities, stupid things. Everybody shoot up to the steering wheel. Can you explain me why I need to shoot straight in front of me on the steering wheel? There is no sense on this, not logical sense. There is no logic on this, and I explain you why. For 2 reasons. One, there is something in front of me that is called airbag. If something happened, if a vehicle bumped me from the back and I hit another vehicle, or if even the criminals bump me on the front and the airbag goes on, is a charge. And I'm shooting right in front of the airbag. So why? And second point, I'm going to break the windshield that is exactly in front of me. If I'm going to be again in dynamic condition, if I break the contact, I can be able to escape with the vehicle. I'm going to have a lot of holes in front of my face that can produce a lot of sharpness. So why I need to shoot in front? When I draw the gun, I need to do this instead to do this and go a little bit on the side. avoiding the airbag, having more visual, more field of view. My fob is going to be wider, and I'm more protected because I'm lower. I'm more protected from the engine.
Engine, yeah.
And I'm going to break a portion of the windshield that is out of my axis. But people still shooting in front of the steering wheel.
Where all their visibility is.
I wait for someone that can give me a logical explanation.
Good to go, man. Ladies and gentlemen, Instructor Zero, man. This is going to be a real deal course. This is going to be a real deal course, man. I'm so excited. I mean, the amount of times you've blown my mind just having this conversation here, you know. Oh, man, the amount of people, you know, shooting right in front of, blinding themselves, essentially, and dealing with all this stuff. This is good, man. I can't wait to see you here in September 16th, 17th, 18th, sir. It's going to be amazing.
Sir.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom.
My pleasure.
You know, with the Ecclesiastes verse, with much wisdom comes much sorrow. I think maybe sometimes when we see some of these things but together, we're gonna give people some real high quality training. So if you guys haven't, go to protectorsymposium.com, get your tickets. I put the link in the comments, and these were some knowledge bombs going down here. This was a clinic, so we look forward to it.
And it's going to be the only vehicle course I will do in the United States until 2023.
Outstanding. The only vehicle course he's doing in the United States till 2023, y'all. So get after it. We have spots. We have space left, and it will be an honor. Thank you so much. And
thank you, Byron. As I said at the beginning, you're really a good human being. That's very important. I'm happy. And I felt this since the first time I met you at the shop. You know, there are people that I don't know how to explain, but there are different kind of professionals in this industry. And believe me, I met a lot of them. I met some super cool special force guy that's probably I don't put them in charge even to go to buy a lunch in McDonald's. And I met some very simple men and women that I could put my life in their hands anytime. This to tell what? To tell that there are many kind of professions. There are professionals that they point on money, on business. Everything is really accepting. No emphasis, no passion. Passion is the engine. You have a lot of passion and you're a good man.
Thank you.
And you're a professional. That's not because, but again, the most important value is the human being that is behind the profession. You know?
That means
you can buy, man. Everything else you can buy. But how you are like a man is not something you can buy.
It's something that's earned, man. And it's a journey too. It's a stinking journey. It isn't because of once upon a time going to war and once upon a time. Anyways, this stuff means the world to me, man. It's the most important things. And I think that's why we gravitated towards each other, because I saw the same thing in you. And I was like, you know what? We'll just be over here and enjoy our time. So it's an honor.
So thank you for this opportunity. I want to greet everybody. It's only 1 hour 53 minutes.
Yeah, we've been going, man. So it's been good. All right, you guys, go to protectorsymposium.com. We will see you at the event. Boom.
Yeah, you in Tucson. Be sure to clap your ass 100%. Be sure to be there. It's a really unique opportunity. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, for your time. I hope that I didn't bust your balls too much. But, you know, there are a lot of things to cover. So I always find. Thank you, Byron. Thank you. See you soon. Let's keep in touch.
That's the passion. Boom.